Thank you, Maureen. I appreciate the introduction. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm happy to be here. Well, that's not really true because here is Cleveland, Ohio, and it's 7 degrees today. I'd have much rather been in Austin where we normally have this meeting. But anyway, I'm still happy to be here with all of you and have an opportunity to share some information with you. So let's just jump right in. We're going to talk about how to deliver a value statement for your customers and potential customers. And the first thing we have to do is understand what your value is. Price is what you pay and value is what you get. That's Warren Buffett's thought on the subject. And I think he knows a lot about value and price over the years. Take a look at what he's got. The thing to understand about your value is what it is and how you create it and how you transfer it. So a transaction has value. You go buy something, you pay money for it, there's a value exchange there. But true value, especially in the service industry, goes well beyond the transactional stage of things. A customer comes in with service, they're not buying a tangible product all the time. It's not a piece of material, a piece of hardware. They're getting a service and they're not really buying that service. What they're buying from you is the value and the utility and the benefits that you create, the benefits for them, by the way. That's what those things that you put into your service is what they're really trying to get a hold of. And that's where the value is driven for them. And when you can properly articulate and understand that value, that's what closes the purchase decision. When the customer understands they need that extra utility that you provide to them. You know, one of the things in our value statement at Highwire, we talk about, we take the complexity out of service. And the reality is that's an incomplete sentence. What we really do is we take the complexity out of service for you, and then we take it on ourselves. You know, we look at how our global command center services team works. We take all the logistics, we take the complexity of travel, and travel in a normal world is complex. And in 2020 and still ongoing now, it becomes even more complex. We manage those deliverables. We manage the coordination and scheduling of the techs. We manage escalations when they happen. So there's a lot of complexity and moving pieces that we can unburden from our customers that allows them to focus on their customer. It allows them to focus on what they do extremely well and what their core functions and core delivery is. Give you a quick example of that before we move on. The Wednesday before Christmas, we get a call from a customer. We need a quick dispatch. We need 118 techs on site Monday morning after Christmas, 8 a.m., all 118 sites, all at the same time. We took that, our team worked it, we used our systems, our tools. Monday morning at 8 o'clock, we had 118 techs show up on site. Again, 2 days before Christmas. It was a very, very complex exercise. But when our customer asked, how'd you get that done? We called our service provider and they took care of it. So we take that complexity out of it. We always emphasize to them how monumental it is because you want to make sure they understand the value. But that's where you really drive a value for your customer. And once you understand that, you can start to articulate the 4 basic tenets of value, as I put it. If you take a look at the first part of it, is consistency. So the customers want a reliable, they want uninterrupted service. They want to know you're going to be there. Now, we all know perfection would be great, but we also know it's very expensive and rarely is it worth it if you take a look at the cost for perfection. So what we like to do is make sure that we deliver a high standard, high quality experience and a very consistent experience. They know what they're going to get every time that we go out there. Make sure your customer understands you don't recreate the wheel every time you provide service to them. You know, there's 4 basic parts of a service call: right tech to the right place, the right part at the right time. Now you take all 1,000 variables to go along with that and manage that for them, but you want to make sure you drive that consistency. One of the ways we do that, especially in this world, try to take control of the schedule. The more inputs you can have and the more influence on the schedule, it accomplishes a couple of things. One, less work your customer has to do. Lets you optimize your resources and use them in the most effective manner. And that in turn helps drive price down for the customer. And if you deliver the same service, lower price, you've increased your value to the customer. So do what you can to take control of that schedule. And once you take control of it, or once you at least agree to it, because some customers will require to do the scheduling, stay on schedule. Regardless of the environment you're working in, regardless of the situation that you're in, make sure you stick to your schedule. it's very frustrating if you're dealing with a retail customer and they have their store manager come in an hour early or 2 hours early because the site has to open up and be done. The work has to be done before the site opens. The manager gets there early. They're not happy about it anyway. And then your tech shows up late. That creates a huge issue. And it's not just the 2 hours of time that manager spent and the extra money they spent. It's all the complaining that manager is going to do about wasting his time, about getting up early and being there and not being able to get the work done anyway. That's going to do more damage to your brand and to your value, and it's going to diminish the customer experience, and that's going to diminish the value that you bring. So make sure your customers understand that you are reliable and that you will live up to the schedule. And by the way, the schedule won't always be 100%. You are going to have opportunities that you're going to be late, you're going to miss. The sooner you communicate that to your customer, the more you get ahead of it, the better it's going to be and the less impact it's going to have on the overall value proposition. Because like I said, we're not going for perfection. High quality delivery though. We had lots of excuses in 2020, all of us have, for not getting the job done, for not being there. Travel restrictions, people getting sick. But we have to make sure that they know that we are there for them no matter what. And when you overcome that, that's again driving the value for them. We had a project, 400 sites that had to be done over a very short time frame during the pandemic. And we were able to manage that for our customer, coordinate with the customer, and make sure that they were all done on time, met the end schedule, minimal disruption to the store operations, and being able to consistently be there and arrive on time. Second part of it is collaboration. And collaboration is where you go from being a delivering a service to being a consultative approach and a trusted advisor with the customer. And one of the things we like to talk about with maximizing the opportunities is you actually start to deliver value before you close the sale. And we all know there's that balancing act of how much time do I spend, how much time do I invest in it for a possibility of winning the deal. I argue, and I think most people would agree, the more you can collaborate up front, the higher your chance of success because you're building the relationship, you're building a better deliverable, a better service experience for the customer. You can learn from lessons that you've had on other jobs. You can find out more about your customer and what they're trying to accomplish. Sometimes when we look at doing delivery, we just look at what the end result is and where we're going to come out. Make sure you really understand your customer's business objectives and what their desired outcomes are. And once you understand that, take a look at what they're asking you to do and make that assessment. If I do what they ask me to do, will it deliver the outcomes that they're expecting? And if they don't think they will, this is the time to have that conversation. This is the time to suggest a different approach. Hey, by the way, you want to put this certain kind of cable in your site. That's great. Your patch panels won't accept that. So how do you want to address that? So there might be nuances to the deal that you have to work on in the solution ahead of time. Identify those gotchas, get ahead of it. You won't have as many problems when you're delivering. And again, customer experience. You're going to get sick of hearing me talk about customer experience, but that's where the true value comes. It's with the customer experience and how they perceive that experience. The other thing about collaborating with your customer, it'll give you the opportunity to create new services and new needs. I think we all took a look at how can you do more remote support during the pandemic. Customers weren't able to get to site, didn't want you to come to site. You have to get an inspection by the county and the inspector doesn't want to come to site. So you figure out a way to do a remote inspection with them using visual tools and video. There's opportunities for work that they can no longer get done because their offices were shut down and they didn't have remote capability. And then we could take that work on for them. So we look for those opportunities. You find touch points where you can create more value add. A lot of companies still like to fly techs around to get work done. Well, during the pandemic, you couldn't do that. Right now in the UK, they just shut down the channel corridors again, the travel corridors. So now it's even more difficult to get around. So we provide more local support and more local feet on the street in order to help get those jobs done for them. During the collaboration phase, one thing I like to make sure everybody understands at the very beginning, listen, listen, listen. Listen more than you speak. And then as you begin to understand and get what they're trying to accomplish, then you can start to advise more as you move forward. Keep in mind, the customer really may not understand what their needs are, or they may not understand how their needs have changed now with the pandemic and the way they have to maneuver in the current world. The next piece of it is data. And no, I'm not going to sit up here and talk to you about big data. I love data. I love metrics. That's how you drive your business. But it's a tool that you use, and it's very important. And how your customers want to consume that data is very important. We have tools in place to do that, a work view, so they can consume data in a graphical form if they need it. They can pull data can be pushed to them. It's however they want to do that. But more so than just the pure big data, let's talk about the little data, the soft data, if you will. Yeah, it's great to quantify their value proposition, and you have to do that when you're talking with the CFO and others in the business. But how does your customer like to be engaged? Do they like weekly phone calls, video conferences? Do they want to communicate via email? Do they have certain parameters for how information gets put into their system? Are there pinch points between your system and their system? Can you align and eliminate those things so that your operating systems work together? That data you gather about how your customer operates and what they value and what's important to them. We have customers that say, no, I need a consistent rate. I can't do a flat rate for this many hours and then a different rate, even if it's lower, for the rest of the hours. Understanding how to do that. Would they rather have a higher firm fixed price and no JCOs, or would they rather have a very low price up front and do change orders for things that come in as an exception? Understand that soft data and how they like to operate. The fourth piece of the stool is alignment. So this is where we bridge the gap between what's really happening in the real world and what we think is happening and what our business goals and objectives are. And if those things aren't aligned, it's going to create friction. And when you create that friction, it's going to cause pinch points. Proper alignment between business goals and customer expectations is critical to creating that positive customer experience where it counts most, on site, where we're delivering the work. So how do you overcome that friction? How do you keep alignment? Understand what's really happening. Know what's going on out there. I still like to go to site unannounced. I love going unannounced. You can really see what's going on, just to see for myself. We'll have project managers go to site when we're doing the pilots so they understand what our techs are going to be dealing with. So we can identify any misalignment, and then we can get that stuff back on track to where you have no friction. It's a much smoother experience. For example, a lot of you have probably been tasked to lower your on-site presence and increase your remote support capability. That's great. You go through your list of tools and what you need, but you also have to go through that list of tools of what your customer needs. How it's going to impact their experience. Just because it's good for you doesn't mean it's good for them. And if you're not aligned, where it's not good for each other, that's going to create a problem. But if you can consistently deliver to your customer, if you can collaborate early on in the engagement, use both big data and little data or soft data to improve the experience, and create alignment across the board, what you're going to end up doing is create mutual value. You know, at the end of the day, we're all in business to deliver a service and to help our customers succeed. But we also have to be successful at it, or we won't be here in 3 years to help continue to support our customers. So if you can follow these 4 tenets and create that mutual value and articulate that mutual value to your customer, you're going to find that they're happier, you're happier, and we're all much more successful. So I really want to wrap it up here and give you an opportunity to ask any questions. So Maureen, if you want to open up the board for Q&A, I'll turn it back over to you.